I was like, okay.
Sorry. I actually had to hit the record, so.
Right.
Intro. Hello and welcome to You Write, the podcast where creativity meets community.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Matt.
Each week on You Write, we challenge our listeners to write a story in just 30 minutes, using 3 of 5 randomly generated words.
It's a fun and fast-paced exercise to spark your imagination and get those creative juices flowing.
We'll read your submissions, offer feedback, and discuss the unique twists and turns of each story.
Whether you're an aspiring author or just love a good tale, You Write is your place to explore the endless possibilities of storytelling.
So grab a pen, get comfortable, and let's dive on into this week's stories.
And remember, the only limit is your imagination. Let's see what you've got. We did it. We're on episode 2. How does it feel?
I feel great. I'm so excited because episode 1 was so amazing and it was just us two. But now we have additional humans who have joined our forces.
Actual human beings submitting actual stories.
Allegedly.
Yeah,
I mean, I can't, I don't have any proof that they're human, but I think they are, but whatever.
We'll give you the benefit of the doubt, humans out there.
We shall.
I just want to say here right at the start that the reception that we got after episode 1 has been stellar.
Phenomenal.
You guys have been amazing. To jump in on episode 1 with such vigor and enthusiasm has been really encouraging. So we've both very much appreciated your participation this week, and just the discussion on the subreddit was exceptional. So keep it up, guys. We really like that.
Absolutely. We love it. I live for it. I sit there by my phone and wait for it to ding to say that there's a new notification from Reddit. It's my bread and butter, if you will.
Yeah, it's very encouraging.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember from Do the Right Thing days how many stories would come in like right at the wire. Mm-hmm. And that was actually really exciting to see people asking, when's the cutoff?
Yeah.
And I guess just to say it here, the cutoff we have listed is on Tuesdays since we're recording on Thursdays. Mm-hmm. So if you can get that in by Tuesday, that really does us a favor, so we can go through and have plenty of time to read your story and make notes on it and comment if we can. Also, it gives people time to comment on your story as well.
Right. But no shade to those of you who did not submit by Tuesday, because a late submission is hella better than no submission.
Damn straight.
That's right.
That's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
You write.
Yeah, you write too.
Hey, you wrote a story too.
I did. You did too.
I did.
Yes.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that we also nailed it. I'm just going to go ahead and pat myself on the back.
Yeah. We totally nailed it.
Yeah.
I mean, this was probably my favorite work that I've ever written, honestly.
Yeah?
Well, I don't know about that, but I really liked it.
I did too. Yours was a wild ride, but we'll get there. We'll get there eventually.
We will.
So whose story did we pick to read?
Okay, so before we talk about that, I feel like we should remind tell new listeners what the prompt and the words were, just to make sure we're all on the same page.
That makes way too much sense.
Right. Okay, so the prompt was, the white boxy van rolled quietly down the street for the 3rd time that afternoon.
And the words were Quicksilver, Mosaic, Lantern, Harbor, and Eclipse.
That's right.
As we mentioned, some juicy words.
Juicy, scrumptious words.
Yes, scrumptious. That was for sure the word for them.
That was the word for them words.
Yeah, yeah.
So do you want to announce who we're going to read?
So we are reading the story submitted by AceOfSword.
Yep.
And this is an untitled story, unless I just didn't copy the title. Did I not copy the title?
No, I don't think it had a title.
Okay.
No, it did. It is red light,
you're
green
right.
light.
It is.
Blue light or something like that.
Redfish, bluefish,
sorry. My bad,
silverfish.
AceOfSword.
Yeah. So this is Redfish, Bluefish, Silverfish.
Yes.
By AceOfSword.
That's right.
Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
The white boxy van rolled quietly down the street for the third time that afternoon. Same dirty smudge on the side, same driver, and Luke's eyes flickered downward. Same license plate as last time. Unless there were identical triplets with the same fashion sense illegally driving multiple identical vans under the same license plate, then this was the same one. Which would have been less interesting if Luke had seen it drive up the hill at least once that time frame. Hey, Matt, how many ways are there to go back up the hill when you take this street? If you don't just turn back and take the street back up, he asked idly. Math opened his eyes from where he was lounging on the couch. Well, if you take a right at the bottom of the hill, you can get into the commercial district and go back up through the boulevard. But the van takes a left, so if you go left, you have to go all the way through the harbor before there's an avenue back up, Math added. How long do you think that would take? Luke asked. He had a pretty good idea, but maybe Math would remember something he didn't. You could do it in 30 minutes, assuming you floor it, ignore traffic law, and there's nothing in the way. More likely an hour and a half because the harbor is always busy. Math immediately answers. There's a van down there that's looping every hour, Luke points out. Math raised an eyebrow and got up, walking to the window to look at it. You sure? Yeah. At first, I only noticed the model, smudge, and driver. Next time I went by, I wrote down the license plate. This is at least the third time this van has gone down this street, Luke said. I want to hit it. Just like that? No prep? No info? No plan? Math sighed. Math, I'm so bored that I noticed the same van going down the street 3 times. And I worked out that it shouldn't have been able to do that before I asked you to confirm, Luke said deadpan. I did the math in my head. All right. I guess it'll stop at the traffic light. It's a common commercial model, so we should have the tools to break into it, Math said. It's worth checking out. Luke pumped his fist in victory. Jumping to his feet, he grabbed his bag and threw it over his shoulder, getting out of the door as fast as possible. While a grumbling Math retrieved the tools they would need, following a few steps behind. The van had stopped at the red light, and Luke pushed a pair of nails into the rear tires in case it decided to move before they were done and they had to chase it. Tires wouldn't deflate so fast they'd draw attention, but it would force them to stop before long. As Math jogged closer to catch up, Luke decided to try the doors and was surprised when they opened. What took so long? Said someone inside. Wait, who are... Oh, it wasn't locked because there were people inside. 5 suits, very secret agent style. 4 of them, 2 on each side, started to get guns out, while the last guy in the back just clutched a briefcase. Luke jumped forward, hitting the closest one in the nose with the back of his palm, driving the bone into his cranial cavity and brain. As the man went limp, he pushed him back onto the guy behind him. There were a pair of muffled thumps as the gunman next to Luke stumbled backward onto the 4th guy. Before he could recover, a 3rd bullet hit him in the head. Math jumped into the back of the van, quickly pointing his silenced pistol at the 4th gunman and putting a bullet between his eyes, while Luke stomped on the 2nd guy's throat. And then he bent down to relieve him of his gun while he choked. The last suit tried to pull some little gun out of his jacket. Math shot him in the chest. That one wasn't wearing a vest. VIP? Luke pointed out as he grabbed the briefcase. No, VIP wouldn't have pulled a gun. Just a corporate guy, probably, Math said as he checked the corpses and the one dying guy for wallets. He wasn't what they were transporting. He was transporting that briefcase with an escort. Makes sense, Luke said. Then he forced the briefcase lock open. Don't do that. What if it was trapped or rigged to destroy the contents, Math pointed out. Then the suit probably would have mentioned that instead of trying to pull a gun, I think. Like he had no fucking chance to kill us, but he tried anyway. That was his only option, answered Luke as he pried the briefcase open. He might not have known all the safeties and, Math started to point out before being distracted as a small metallic sphere floated out of the broken briefcase. Fluid and or made of interlocked moving pieces of metal polished to a mirror finish. Like a mosaic made of Quicksilver. It vibrated and shifted, and a voice came out of it. Finally, somebody noticed. I don't know how much longer I could have kept the loop going, it said, in a voice like an echoing whisper. Thank you. Oh, fuck. Did you kill all of those guys? Yeah, That's kind of what we do, answered Luke, taking it in stride. Well, this just got interesting, Math said, processing the new information.
Wow.
I really like this story.
I really like it too.
It starts off so just
Mundane.
mundane.
Yeah.
Yeah. The fact that we go from a van just driving down the street 3 times to a Quicksilver Mosaic being entity thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite the escalation, and I love that.
I mean, I kind of had the feeling from the beginning that it was going to be some type of sci-fi because they had deduced that there's no possible way that the van could be doing that without turning. Was it right or left? Oh, without turning right.
Yeah.
That there was no possible way. So, I guess it stayed very like low key until like the very end, and I was like, whoa, this just got real.
Yeah, the constant escalation,
Mm-hmm.
just the fact that it's just 2 guys chatting and then that one line, I want to hit it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really just takes it. And in my head, when I first read that, I was like, wait, when you say hit, like I immediately jumped to a heist,
Oh,
like hit it like a heist.
right.
But at the same time, I was like, that can't be right. Like,
I immediately jumped to like something sexual.
okay, with a van.
Well,
I mean, we'll get to your story, but we know how you feel about vans.
yeah.
So, yeah.
It's been done before. Not by me necessarily, but I love the description of the being, the Quicksilver being. It was very, very vivid, and I felt like I could see it happening. Like the mosaic made of Quicksilver, it vibrated and shifted, and I can just like see that in my mind, and I love it. I love that. What do they call that?
Imagery.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
The line that got me was fluid and or made of interlocked moving pieces of metal polished to a mirror finish. I thought that was great. That's a great descriptor.
Yeah.
And followed up with the mosaic made of Quicksilver.
Right.
Also, mad kudos to that you managed to combine Mosaic and Quicksilver into something this creative. I thought that was a very very interesting way to take those words, and that's awesome.
Definitely. And like you can't tell that it just sounds so natural that you can't tell that those are like the words that you had to use. So yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, and clearly the words must have had some impact on where I can't say like that's where the story was inevitably going to go, was them finding this being, or who knows, maybe it was, oh, I still have these words I need to use, like what if they find a Quicksilver mosaic something and it turns out to be some sort of entity. But however you managed to get to that point, bravo. Well done.
Bravo. And also the name Math. For me, I honestly thought that that you were you by you I mean Ace of Sword. I honestly thought that Ace of Sword was making mathematics into an entity,
which would be wild. But I suppose we don't know anything about this world.
We don't. But like I maintained that stance whenever Luke would always defer to math about things which seemed kind of mathematical. Until, I mean, I feel like math would be like the smartest one, But then there at the very end, Luke made a point. Luke dunked on math because Luke was like, math was like, maybe the briefcase is trapped or rigged to destroy the contents. And Luke was like, no, then the suit probably would have mentioned that instead of trying to pull out a gun.
But that is more of an interpersonal understanding, like a not so much a mathematical understanding, more of a understanding of people. So
yeah,
I don't.
Right. So maybe Luke is some other abstract entity.
The gosh, the empathy being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just lovely.
It is. And I was not expecting a van full of agents to come
Mm-mm.
pouring out. So, and let me just say here that in the span of, oh gosh, what is it, like 2, maybe 3 paragraphs, I went from absolutely shocked and floored with the violence. And by the time we get to the last suit tried to pull some little gun out of his out of his jacket, Math shot him in the chest. By the time I got there, I was like, that's mundane. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But oh man, like the whole time I was reading it, I was thinking it reminded me of The Boys. Have you seen The Boys?
Yeah.
Just gratuitous
Oh, yeah.
violence and
Yeah,
just
yeah.
very nonchalant about the whole thing.
Right.
But I really dug the gratuitous violence of this one.
Right.
Yeah.
I was honestly getting Matrix vibes from this.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
suits.
Mhm.
What was that guy's name?
Agent Smith.
Smith. That's
Yeah.
right. And the Quicksilver being also kind of seemed like something that I would see on Matrix, but it was very, very intriguing. And I would like more development of all of the characters, actually.
Uh how if you could offer advice, what would you do to maybe develop this story a little bit further? Like where would what would be satisfying to you to see this how this develops?
For me, I would want some context to, first of all, to Math and Luke. Like, I would want some type of backstory. Like, why is that what they do?
Yeah.
Killing people, you know?
Hmm.
And at first also the Quicksilver being was kind of like an alien, but then whenever it talked, it was like, oh fuck. And that made it have kind of like a human quality to it. That it would be startled by something,
Yeah.
Not just like a machine, but they like had emotions.
Yeah.
So I first of all want development of the characters, Math and Luke. I want to know what is their what are they doing?
Yeah, yeah. I had a very similar thought. I, I do think as a start to the story, it's a really good hook,
Mm-hmm.
keeping you on your toes. You don't have any idea that this is who they are,
Yeah.
and the shock value of that scene whenever they do run into them in the van is a really great way to get you invested in the story and the characters. But yeah, to continue it really let us know who these people are. And I do have a question, and this is probably nitpicky, but is his name Math
Mm-hmm.
or is it Matt?
Or is it Matt? Because the first time it was Matt, and I was like, okay, if this is some like literary device, it is way over my head because I couldn't understand the transition from Matt the first time to Math all the other times.
As I read it, I was thinking, oh, it was just a typo. Maybe it auto corrected Math to Matt because it was a proper noun, but he got all the other one, or they got all the other ones right. I'm sorry. But as I was reading it, I had a minor existential crisis because it was my name at first, and then it wasn't, and I was kind of, I don't know, just I had a moment with that.
We thought that you were writing about this Matt,
and I was curious how you knew my secret identity and my secret job.
Right?
Yeah,
because he actually that is what he does as well.
Yeah.
So it seemed like it was about him.
Yeah. So, also the line, it was such a good line. I want to hit it.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a pivotal moment in the story. I kind of want that to have its own line.
Mm-hmm.
I want a break from what came before it, a little time to just process, I think, what came before it, and then hit me with that on its own line.
Okay.
That was.
Oh yeah.
Rather than it just falling at the end of a paragraph,
Right.
that's a very minor thing, and it's mainly just to have what good content you have there really stand out.
Yeah, because it is pivotal.
Yeah.
And also another thing that we learn about the characters is that Luke is more of an emotional person, it seems, and Math is more of a reasonable person. So that kind of goes into the idea, my idea of math being the concept of mathematics, and Luke being something related to like human behavior or something, you know?
Yeah, you're right. Because Luke pumped his fist in
Yeah.
victory,
And Luke is the one who wanted to hit it.
yeah,
Math is kind of like, ugh, are you serious? Like this isn't logical, is
yeah.
what I get from math there.
And I apologize for my reading. There were several times I read it one way, and then I realized, like, oh, I said that with far too much emotionality. It's like math, just like that. No prep, no info, no plan. Math side. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I apologize for my lackluster reading there.
I
But
think I speak on behalf of all the listeners whenever I say we forgive you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That
You
means a
deserve it.
lot. Yeah.
You deserve it.
Oh gosh, what else did I have in here? Yeah, just the Quicksilver being them taking that in stride, like it's no big deal.
Mhm.
Just a Quicksilver Mosaic being, yes,
Yeah.
you know.
Which makes me wonder even more, where the heck did these guys come from?
It almost seems like it's not necessarily a shock to them.
Yeah,
Like
like
there are
they're
stranger things in this
right.
world than whatever
Like
this thing.
I'm getting like a been there, done that feeling from
Mm.
them. They've seen some shit.
And maybe they actually know what this thing is. We're not privy to the intricacies of this world that you've created. So
Right.
all that to say, very well done. Thank you.
Bravissimo.
Yes, bravissimo.
Mhm.
So thank you, Ace of Sword, for your
Thank you,
submission.
Ace of Sword.
Well, all right. Want to move into our other listener submitted stories?
Absolutely.
All right. Other stories that were submitted. We have one here by none other than our Rachel in-house Wook Against the Machine.
That's me.
That's Rachel.
That's me, guys.
All right. And
Gals.
So what was this?
Well,
what was this story?
Okay, so whenever I actually wrote the prompt about the white van, and it's pretty cliche, but it's like a cliche horror prompt, right? Or thriller or something like that. Anyway, so I was just like, you know what? It would be really funny if it was in the first person and the van is actually driven by the protagonist of the story.
Yeah, it's a very interesting take, one I wasn't really expecting.
Yeah.
I genuinely, as I was reading this, I was questioning everything I thought I knew about what I had read, because Quicksilver was not a horse, which is immediately where my mind went. But I just happen to know. I feel like I know you well enough that I eventually latched on. It's like, this is Rachel's vehicle.
Yeah.
Or sorry, this is Reem's vehicle.
Right.
Yes, not Rachel's vehicle.
Right.
But
yeah. I have never had a vehicle named Quicksilver, but my first vehicle was named Velty.
yes, that I did know, and that's how I managed to find the correlation.
Yes. So, I mean, I just really got into it and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to like pull out all the stops. I'm just going to be honest here. This is my life in a nutshell, to be honest.
Yeah. For those of you, obviously, that don't know Rachel, she is terrible with directions and driving.
That's an understatement.
She is notorious.
I'm ill. I'm mentally ill when it comes to spatial awareness.
So this felt very close to home for you.
Yeah, it felt very close to home. My vehicles are always boys. I don't know why. And yeah, I'm always lost. I do lots of U-turns. I like to think that I'm a little bit more competent than Reem. Sometimes I'm not, but most of the time I feel like I can fulfill, duties of a job in a more competent manner. But yeah.
I would hope that by this point you've managed to you could manage a simple lantern delivery to the harbor master.
Right.
God, that was such
Oh,
a twist for me.
really?
Yes, that I think that was the main holdup for me, like trying to figure out what is the setting for this.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this main character is just rather quirky.
Right.
Yeah, and they're not going to the harbor master. No, they are delivering not a lantern but a flashlight,
Right.
and not to the harbor master but Harper Masterson.
Right. So, okay, so the harbor master, I actually did not even know that this was a word. I mean, I knew that harbor was a word and that master was a word, but I did not know that they were a word together. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Okay, well, I just found this out 2-3 nights ago when I was watching some true crime.
Like you were just out in the world watching
I was
true crime?
watching people commit crimes, yeah,
Wow.
in real time.
Wow.
No, actually, I was at my house. I was watching true crime or murder documentaries, if you would like to call them that, which I do. Anyway, and well, this one was about this lady who had an affair with some hot fisherman up in like the Northeast somewhere.
Mm.
And it was like, oh, this fisherman, everybody's like, oh man, what a hot fisherman, blah, blah, blah. And the hot fisherman was actually on there as a guest.
What?
Yeah. Which I thought was weird because he had an affair with this lady that ended up getting killed. And I'm like, okay, this guy is like just putting it all out there.
That's brazen.
Oh, yeah, it was very brazen.
Yeah.
I'm like, I hope that he's still not married to his wife at the time because I would be pissed if he went out in front of like the world and said this. But anyway, on the description underneath, under his picture on the show, it was like so and so harbor master.
It was fate.
And I got excited.
That was it. That was where you had to go to the harbor master.
Yeah. And I saw that and I was like, what? This is an actual job title? This is amazing. And so I started researching harbor masters.
Is that a fairly deep rabbit hole?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Come to find out.
I know little to nothing about harbors.
Well, same. But now.
What does a harbor master do?
Well, they kind of like are the manager of the harbor. Like they keep everything in check. They make sure things are running smoothly. There's like imports, exports type of thing.
Oh, so for like a port, a harbor, like a port, like Portland has a big
like
port.
A portmanteau.
Yes.
No, I'm just joking.
No.
No.
Okay.
But I do love me a portmanteau.
A portmanteau.
Yeah.
Okay.
But no. Yeah, they're like the manager, like the groundskeeper. But
for a
it's
harbor.
Not ground, it's water.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So they manage the
water.
Yeah,
pretty much. And so then I already knew what the words were going to be for this story. And I was like, harbor master. All right, there's going to be a harbor master in my story.
So technically, you did not actually use the word harbor.
I know. But guess what? I used 3 of the other words. So I did fulfill the requirement.
I would still give you credit for harbor master.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just generally, I really liked your story. It went exactly where I did not expect it to go.
Awesome. I love
that. The turn whenever you, after like the mission accomplished, I exclaimed in delight. I could tell Quicksilver was pleased as well. Just reinforcing the quirkiness.
Yes.
And or possibly reinforcing confusion as to what Quicksilver actually is.
Right. I wanted to go into more detail about that and be like, I felt Quicksilver's satisfaction and pleasure oozing from what is that thing called that they steer boats with? You know, the thingy? The round thing?
The steering wheel?
No, it's called something else.
Oh, man. I don't own a boat.
No,
it's not a yoke. That's a plane, I think.
I'm thinking like a boat. I guess I was kind of thinking of like a pirate ship, honestly.
Which also uses a wheel.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's just called a wheel.
No, there's another word for it. We're in a landlocked area.
If you know the word for the thing that is used to steer a ship,
right.
let us know.
Yeah. I feel like I used to know that
You
word.
can email us at youwritepod@gmail.com, please.
Please
Thank you.
tell us. Please.
But yeah.
Okay. So anyway.
Fun story.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, Matt, I'd like to talk to you about your story.
Okay. Let's do it.
Okay. So I found this story to be adorable.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going for.
You nailed it.
Thank you.
Yep, because it was just so childlike. And I don't really know that kids are like this anymore.
That's valid. Like after I read it, after I'd written it, I was like, do kids like actually like get bored outside and just like
prank each other?
Just prank each other? Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
No.
These are like 80s kids.
Right on.
And I love that because 80s kids are cool.
Yeah. As 80s kids, I think we have to say that.
Right.
Yeah.
Although we were not that old in the 80s, we are not that old now.
Yeah.
By the way, attention everyone, we are not that old.
We are old, but we're not that old.
We're old, but we're not that old. Okay, so I loved, and I was wondering the whole time where it was going to go. You know?
Honestly, me too.
Yeah.
As I was writing it, I actually rewrote the ending. Like I spent like the last 10 minutes of my 30 minutes writing and rewriting the ending because originally it was not a prank. Like I was prepared to take it like somewhere darker, somewhere other like twisted, you know,
right.
Like not necessarily kidnappers per se, but go somewhere. Somewhere that wasn't a prank. I guess we'll say it that way. But it felt like I couldn't tie a nice little bow around this story any other way than to just be a prank.
Yeah.
And as soon as I thought of the idea of a prank, I was like, that's it. That's what I've got to do. So
right. It was definitely a twist. I thought something very brutal was going to happen, but in fact, it did not. And I wonder where you got the idea for the name of the town, Lonely.
It's a great way to encapsulate a small, lonely town. Just call it Lonely.
Can you think of right now a town which would fit that description?
Yeah.
You're not going to say our town, are you?
No, I'm not.
You're already going to say.
Well, because this is kind of based around my perspective of a certain town, not that far away that I have some tangential association with, I'd rather not say.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay, it's Olney.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know that town.
Yeah.
I know that town because of your wife.
Yeah.
Is that why you know it too?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
a small town.
That's a lonely town.
Small, lonely only.
Yep. People of Olney, we apologize.
I don't think I disparaged Lonely in any way. It's just a small town.
Because actually the kids were having a great time and they're very likable characters.
Yeah.
So Lonely does have some good people in it, just like Olney.
What?
The same letters almost.
Yeah, almost.
Did you do that on purpose?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Is that clever?
That is so clever.
I thought it might be too clever by half, but I guess it works.
No, that is great. Honestly, that is amazing. I love that.
Oh, and one other change that I made was I made the prank on the older of them. Originally, I had it on, I think it was like the youngest of them. And I was like, no, I want the younger kids to give the old one a hard time.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So the older one is the kind of timid one.
Yeah.
I guess. Okay, I like the line where it's like, I'm going to mess you.
And then, look. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also really like the name Mariah.
That is a good one.
Yeah.
After our whole conversation with names last time.
Right.
Full disclosure, I didn't come up with these names. I asked my wife, give me 3 random names, go. and she gave me those names.
Oh,
So
wow.
I outsourced the problem of names to someone else, so
That's
that
smart because she's objective.
yeah, and she has no stake in it.
Right. She doesn't have any knowledge of the story or anything like that.
I say she has no stake in it.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
she does.
She might have bet on this. She might have bet on this right now.
Yeah.
She might be about
she
to.
went to Vegas.
She might have gone to Vegas and made bets.
How would you do a bet on a story? What does that look like?
Well, it could look like she's like, I bet you that this is going to be the best story of all time ever. Or something.
Oh man, she lost that bet.
and so she's trying to come up with cool names or something. I don't know. Yeah. There's a lot of ways that one could bet about a, story writing podcast.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I could think of.
Yeah, I guess you can
absurd, but
you can bet on anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, enough about my story.
Wait, one more thing.
Oh no.
I feel like you really, really like the word guffaw. Am
do.
I right?
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen you use that before. And right now you're making a face that is what I imagine guffaw face to look like.
Yes. Yeah. It's such a evocative word, and it's so. I don't know. I feel like it's one word that can be used in lieu of maybe like 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
Just a guffaw.
Right.
There's nothing quite like it. So
no.
And it fit perfect. So, but yeah, guffaw.
I love it.
Thank you. I like the word too. All right. Our next story is by Walker by Faith, and it's also an untitled story. Or did I also just not find a title? Nope, no title. But this one was a trip. This is technically our second delivery story that we had submitted.
Yes.
And it is quite the contrast.
Mm-hmm. It's quite a different dadgum.
Dang. Walker by Faith, we hope you're okay.
Yeah.
We hope this isn't speaking from some
we hope this isn't
some plate, but
yeah. We hope this isn't indicative of anything that's going on internally with you right now. But if it is, then that's fine too.
What a great way to express it.
Right.
Yeah.
And getting it out, I feel, is a good thing.
But no, I think they actually mentioned in a comment that's like, this is not who they are. It
right.
it was like the first thing that came to their mind. And man, that's the turn that it took at the end. I literally out loud go, holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
that wow, very effective turn.
Yeah, at the end, where he, where it says that the thrown tire iron lodged itself into the base of her throat, and she fell backward. This somehow reminded me of Inglourious Bastards.
Just the kind of gratuitous violence of it all. Just
the gratuitous violence and like the kind of like fantasy violence, like things unrealistically happen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's like, so improbable.
Yes. Okay. It's so improbable that a thrown tire iron would lodge itself into the base of her throat. And that's the type of thing that I feel like I see on Inglourious Bastards and Quentin Tarantino movies in general.
Yeah.
Just like improbably perfectly targeted violent acts.
Yeah. I completely understand. And after you mentioned that, like, yeah, I could actually see this being like an idea for a Tarantino movie.
Right.
Just this like the first time I read it, I was actually kind of confused, but that's actually just on me, like while I was trying to read it. But once I kind of saw where the story was going, man, I thought it was very effective.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very clear on what emotions it's trying to evoke. And I'm realizing we're not actually like describing the stories and like what actually happens in the stories so far. So I'll just kind of take this moment. Walker by Faith is telling us about a man who is driving a flower delivery van, and he has it's my understanding that he is looping around trying to find this one address. He can't find it. He's really frustrated.
And he hates his job.
And I'm not even sure it's the job. Maybe it is, but he goes so far out of his way to talk about her and she, and the way that he brings us back to this character is every time he refers to this other she or her, we never get a name for her, but the name is always capitalized. So we're always getting this callback regardless of whatever means he's referring to this woman. Which I thought was interesting.
I do think that he hates his job because he refers to it as a fecal streak of a job.
You're right. Okay, totally looked over that. Fecal
Yeah.
streak, that's also that is an image there.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. that is far more effective.
That's quite evocative.
Yeah. Where one person may say skid mark.
Right.
Here we got fecal streak.
Right.
Yeah. Let's not talk about that again.
No.
That gives me the willies.
Yeah. But one thing that I strangely really, really like is the last line. That he is a complete psychopath. Like, he has no empathy. He has no remorse. He's just like, he doesn't even care that he is about to go to prison. He's just like, this was completely worth it.
Yeah, he like almost welcomes it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Maybe because it's so different, it's so opposite from myself. Because I have a guilt complex. I have an overactive conscience. And so I kind of think it would be cool to have no conscience and just be like, yeah, so I just murdered somebody in a very violent way and I'm excited about it.
You think that'd be cool?
Yeah, I do.
I mean, you say that.
Well, I mean, I think it's normal. I think it's human nature to long for the opposite.
Okay. Yeah, I'll buy that.
You know?
Yeah. Or maybe even to just understand, to be able to like comprehend how somebody could be this way.
Right.
Yeah.
Or to want like relief from something that burdens you.
Yeah.
In the form of the extreme opposite.
Yeah. Actually, there was one comment. Let me see if I can find it real quick by, who was it? Oh, it was Ace of Swords comment. I agree with them when they say, I can't say I relate to the joyful catharsis, relief from the pressure, sure, but those moments don't really feel good. So, but that kind of further reinforces your point that they are a sociopath or psychopath. I'm still unclear the distinction.
I'm not sure, but me and my brother did quite a bit of research into this, and I believe that the difference is that a sociopath has no empathy for the feelings of others, but does care about their own well-being, whereas a psychopath doesn't care about others or necessarily have too much concern for themselves.
So then, yes, psychopath.
So I'm thinking psychopath because he's like, yeah, I'm about to go to prison for possibly a long time, and I don't care, and I feel great, I love that. I really love that. I think it's also because I have a hard time feeling anger in general.
Okay.
I'm not.
Good for you.
Well, it's not necessarily a good thing. My mom used to always tell me, she used to always say, Rachel, get angry. Just stop getting sad. Get mad. And I would be like, yeah, but then I couldn't. So I guess I kind of admire this quality of extreme rage.
Fascinating. That's a weird admiration to carry.
I know, it's weird, but I'm just not like that. So I'm like, wow, you know what? Cool. More power to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually, I had done I think it was a series. Yeah, it was a series of stories on Do the Right Thing that was, the main character was just like, he could go off at a hair trigger. It was all about anger.
Yeah.
And I've actually thought about that story recently. But anyways, that writing that perspective from anger it really is challenging.
Yeah.
Because especially in my case, like if you can relate to it, you feel bad, right? I felt bad writing like this type of anger. It really kind of got under my skin, and I don't know. It's a very, very strange thing to try and write. At least personally, it was. So
because you could relate to it.
because I could relate to
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
For me, it's complete fiction.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Being crazy and, not knowing where I am and living in a world of my own is I can relate very much to, like Reem. But anger, rage, to this extent.
To this extent, I hope almost nobody has that. I hope nobody can relate to that.
I can only dream about such rage.
Honestly, I think you're probably better off for it. All this to say, Walker by Faith is a very good story, a very effective story. There were just a few minor. I think I had something here. It's just like a few minor clarity things, like some very small punctuation things here and there. I do think that the paragraphs. Well, I guess because there's no dialogue or anything, and they mentioned that they didn't want to do any dialogue. So the paragraphs, it felt like large chunks of text. But as I'm reading it, I'm like, no, I think I'm just being, I'm being an idiot. So
no, don't say that about yourself.
I could have swore I had something in here.
There were punctuation things.
Yeah, just small things. A quick proofread, and I'm sure it would iron itself out and be a really polished thing. But overall, Walker by Faith, very effective story. And,
yes.
And thank you for submitting it to us. I'd actually be curious to know your thoughts on how you felt when you were writing this, coming from this type of perspective. Like, is it tough for you to channel that kind of character, or does it just kind of come, I don't want to say naturally, but is it something that you can relate to do that? Because if you can't relate to this, like Rachel can't really relate to writing something like that, then well done.
Yeah.
It is very effective.
Yeah, very effective.
Yes.
Impressive. Well, let's go on to our next story.
Our last story.
Our next and last story by Sithril. I love that name, by the way.
I do too. And I'm not sure why, but of all of the usernames that we have on here, it's the only one that doesn't show up as a like, this is misspelled. So I kind of thought about that, and then I never decided. Here, I'm just gonna like Google what is Sithril? Is that like a proper name?
To me, it sounds like Sith Lord, but
I got nothing. No,
it sounds like either Sith Lord or like an Indian name.
It gives me like Tolkien, like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Like Sithril.
Yeah. No, totally.
Yeah.
It sounds majestic.
Maybe it is Tolkienian.
Maybe it is Tolkienian.
Anyway.
I actually had a lot of thoughts about this story. Okay, so first thing I want to say, Sithril, and I don't want this to come off as like, I don't want this to come off as discouraging anybody else's creativity at all. But I really, really like the way that the female police officer, the sheriff, how she was not objectified. I was literally, I did not realize this because it was completely subconscious. But today I was sitting in my office reading this story, and I was literally sitting there waiting to get triggered. I was just like, about her body or something, or about her attractiveness or something like that.
Or just her being a woman sheriff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I loved that.
I did too.
The fact that you normalized that was awesome. And the fact that I had the expectation that I had proves that is not normal.
It's kind of a trope.
Yeah.
Like anytime there's a female in a position of power,
right?
The obvious thing to do is to objectify them in some way.
Right. This is just something that was very interesting, very different, very stand out in this story, I think.
Yeah, you kind of subverted the trope there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Totally. Also, I don't know why. Maybe I was like in a sci-fi type of mood whenever I read this, but I was feeling, and I'm sorry to all of the huge fans out there, but I do not like the book Dune. I do not.
I still actually haven't read it, so
Yeah. However, I do like the setting of Dune.
it
I like it
is
a
a good
lot.
one.
And this setting seemed a little bit Dune-esque to me.
Gotcha. I think they actually mentioned, was it RimWorld that they were talking about? Or no?
That was in a comment, I think.
No, am I thinking of a different story?
No, that was in a comment because I said, this reminds me of, what did I say?
Oh, right. Applies to both RimWorld and to my understanding. You said Mad Max.
Oh, yeah, Mad Max.
Mad
Yeah.
Max.
Yep. I didn't want to invoke the name Dune in writing, but I will do it verbally.
Okay.
And again, I love the setting of Dune, which is one reason why I do not like the story.
Because it just didn't let you down. Gave you this really great setting and then just tore it all down.
To me, it was it used a beautiful setting to proliferate stereotypes.
All right. That's unfortunate.
Yes, it is.
Thankfully, Sithril
Right.
did
not do that.
exactly the opposite of that.
Exactly. So I did love the setting because I do love that desert, like Dune, Mad Max type of setting.
It did take me a while to parse out that we were, well, actually, not really a while. I think I probably got it at the times that you wanted me to pick it up. But when I read Eclipse Voltaics, I was like, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going somewhere sci-fi?
Mm-hmm.
And then the line Max replied, "The star in my birth system is fairly stable, a bit like Old Soul, if the tales are true." I thought that was a really great way to set that we are well out of our own stellar system
Mm.
and into a completely different one. And Old Soul, it's like
Mm-hmm.
you've set up a way that you can really dive off if you wanted to expand on this into a whole other world. I thought that was a really clever way of getting the setting in our head as, oh, this is not Earth. This isn't even our solar system. It's not even our stellar system, I think.
Right. And then where it's like a solar storm hardened out of the factory, aren't they? And then Kircher said, or Kircher, I don't know. It's a common occurrence in this neck of the woods. Is that common where you came from? So it's like he came from another.
Yeah, and clearly there's travel between these systems. So there is a sci-fi setting here, but you're also not focused on that. You're focused on these characters and getting the plot of this break-in that they had, and starting to dive into whatever happened there.
Yeah.
I thought it was really, really cleverly done.
Right.
I just didn't know. I don't think I knew how quite to say that, but I'm a sucker for character-driven stories, as we talked about on episode 1, and this felt like they were always the focus, despite this kind of very unique setting happening around them, and the fact that you avoided just focusing on the setting. I really enjoyed that. That's something that I probably would have done incorrectly. I would have thought, I need to be sure and get this whole setting out here to make sure that they're aware that this really cool place that we're in is really cool. It's like, no, that's not what people are there for the story. Like the characters, like we want to know these characters. So I liked that.
Yeah. I think another thing that lended to the Dune thing that I was feeling was the coffee in the tent. They're in a tent, right?
Yeah. What was it? It was a.
Let's see. I think it's the workers' recreation booth.
That's what it was. Yeah, booth.
Well, I'm just like picturing a tent and there's coffee, and that reminded me of the coffee service, the sacred and envied coffee service of Dune.
Like, is it like Starbucks?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Okay.
Yep, it's Starbucks and coveted. That's the word I was looking for.
Oh.
The coveted coffee service of Dune, which is pretty much Starbucks on every corner.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That was the commentary that I'm sure they were
Yeah.
looking.
And I also, this is like a lame comment, I think, but I really like the way that they're like, yup. Yup.
You know, despite not being from the Northeast, I say that a surprising
How do you say it?
amount. Yep.
Oh, is that what it is? It like yep, like yep, yep,
Yeah. Yep.
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 Yeah, because that is also a cowboy thing.
Is it?
Yes. My
Yep.
cowboy relatives say that like yep, yep. But I never would have thought to spell it like that. Yeah, but I like it. Yep.
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 Interesting.
Yeah.
I was sure that was like a down east thing.
You mean an up east thing?
Sure.
Maybe.
Huh.
Heck if I know.
I apparently don't. I was sure it doesn't matter.
Tell us.
If you know the
Cithro?
the etymology and origins of Ayup.
Yeah, in that spelling. Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Cithril. I very much enjoyed your story, and thank you for submitting it to us.
As did I.
And also, before we leave it here, Cithril actually left a really great comment that I wanted to talk about. Basically, talking about how they spent so much time trying to figure out what to write, and a construction site scene came to their mind. They asked us the question, how do you guys deal with blocks like the one that they described in this comment? Ended up going with for a scene in my rim world setting paired with a few random unrelated ideas. Honestly, that's more than I usually start with. I'm starting cold. I've got the first line in this case and the words, and it is dark on that page. Like there's I understand that. I guess that nerve, that second guessing yourself. For me, weirdly, and I realize this isn't going to be any help, but starting this podcast actually helped a lot. I had to essentially come to the terms with, I'm going to say something kind of stupid, or at some point I'm going to make a fool of myself, and that's fine.
Yeah.
The important thing is that I do it. It's that I just start somewhere. So whether or not something substantive comes from it, you will never know until you do it. And so for me, that was where my mind immediately went. And that's why I wanted to talk about this comment. I feel like a lot of people could relate to, well, just having a block in general. So what are your thoughts?
Well, I actually commented on Cithril, and that is, okay, aside from my comment to Cithril. So as I discussed, as I mentioned, as I glossed over in the last episode, I'm an English teacher. And that is one thing that I tell my students who are like, I don't know what to write, or they're writing really slow because they want everything to be perfect. I'm like, no. You've got to just write. Just write some words. Just put some words, because whatever you create, even if it's random and dumb, it's going to trigger some ideas in your head, and it's going to inspire you to the next step. So like, you don't have to have the whole entire journey in your head. If you just put a few words down on paper, and then look at that, stop the timer, look at that, let it sink in, let it, inspire you somehow. I feel like the ideas come little by little. It's not like I have never in my life had like an entire story thought up in my head before I started writing. I start writing, even in research papers, I start writing, and then I get inspired by what I wrote. And then I'm like, oh, I'm going to go this direction. And then I'm like, okay, no, I'm going to go this direction. Just write. And so I strongly believe in the concept of writing for like 5 or 10 minutes. And then for me, I like to sleep on it. and let it sink in. And then I get ideas, you know? And then I'm excited to get back to it the next day because I think of ideas.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh, I'm going to add this and then see where that goes, you know? So I think doing it little by little and letting it sink in, but that works for me because my brain is kind of like slow in processing things. But then sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm just going to write for 5 minutes. And then I get inspired and I want to keep writing. And then I don't stop my flow. You know, I'm like, okay, just keep writing.
So more like a process of discovering the story.
Yeah, totally.
Than creating it.
Yes. And you know what? The short stories that I write, it reminds me of, I read this quote by, I think it was Michelangelo. And when he was carving some, I don't know, like an angel or something out of some marble or something.
That schmuck.
As one does. Yes. And he said, at first it was just a slab of, let's say it was marble. Okay. Don't quote me on this. I don't know the exact details, but it was just a slab of, let's say, marble. And Michelangelo said, there is an angel, or there's something beautiful.
Oh, this is about
inside.
The Statue of David.
Was it the Statue of David?
I think that it was,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, he's like, there's something beautiful inside this slab of marble. I just have to let it out. I just think that's so profound and beautiful. And so how does that really relate to what I'm saying right now? I don't know, but for some reason, to me, it really like is similar to, for me, the writing process. Cause I don't know what it's gonna be, you know? I chip away a little bit, make a little bit, reveal a little bit of the story. And then I'm like, oh, this is what this looks like. And then that just inspires me to like, go on. Am I talking for a long time?
A little bit. It's fine though.
Yeah, sorry, I'm done.
Fine, though. I think this is actually important, so I think it's worth giving it some space. And then lastly, I actually kind of addressed my thoughts on this already. How do you guys cope with stress of writing or sharing? They mention it being unnecessarily stressful. Like these types of challenges feel unnecessarily stressful. Mm-hmm. Which mad props to you for working up the courage. If it is this stressful to submit your story, we think you did an excellent job.
Definitely.
And really, the stressful part for me in the past was always the coming up with the idea. Mm-hmm. That was always stressful. Once I had that seed, it just turned into excitement for me. But also, I kind of mentioned it before, like being okay with not being perfect, with saying something wrong, or maybe like misspelling something, bad punctuation. Those things are so easy to forgive. If those are the kinds of things that you're worried about, or anything like that, don't be.
We forgive you.
We absolutely forgive you. The whole thing for this show is to just write.
Yes.
And you did. And you did great. You all did great.
So all of you did so great. These stories were so fun to read.
And this is only episode 2.
This is only the beginning, guys.
This is just the beginning. You
can't even imagine the joy and amazingness that we're on a journey to discover together.
Yes. I'm so thoroughly enjoying this. I look forward to recording every week. But
you
both
mean at
weeks.
Least for the past 2 weeks?
Yeah, for the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I very much look forward to recording
I also
it.
have enjoyed looking forward to that.
And just working on it, the whole process of doing this show has been very rewarding. So thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Well, that's it for episode 2. Shout out to AceOfSword for their story that we read out loud here today. Also, thank you, Rachel, for your story.
And thank you for your story.
You're welcome. And also, Walker by Faith, thank you very much for your story.
Yes.
As unhinged as it was, we very much enjoyed it.
Enjoyed it a lot.
Yes. And lastly, but not leastly, Cithril, thank you for submitting your story.
So, prompt for next week?
Yes. Oh, also, shout out to everybody who submitted stories, did comment. We also did get a comment from another user, Nick You. They mentioned that
they wanted to write.
Yeah, they wanted to write. Mm-hmm. Sounds like they've been a little busy. So hopefully we see you in the future, Nick You. So
yes.
Thank you for your comments.
Yes. Okay, so next week prompt. Which, guys, funny story. I was looking up this prompt at work and my speaker was really loud and my boss walked by and she was like, she just gave me a weird look.
I'm sure this will make more sense to our listeners once they actually hear the sound. So,
right.
Go ahead.
Well, do you want me to describe the sound or?
Well, okay. So for this week's prompt, we are doing a sound effect.
Yes.
So we're going to provide you with a sound effect, and it is going to play now. So that's the sound that we're going for.
Right.
If it's kind of hard to tell, it is like a creaking rope.
It's a rope or ropes creaking or squeaking.
But if that's not what you heard, run in whatever direction that you think
if you heard something else, go with that.
And I will have a link in the Reddit post with so that you can go listen to the sound on your own time. I do ask that you don't take the title of the video too seriously. You can go that direction with it.
That was the only problem I had. That was the best sound effect I could find. And it had that title. And I was like, I don't want to influence people's creative flow with that title. Don't look at the title of the video.
Yeah. And I'll try to point that out in the Reddit post as well. We don't want to lead you in any way with the sound effect prompts. So, but that's what we've got. And the words for next week's prompt are, you ready?
Yeah.
Nightmare, constellation, correction, slip, and thirst. Them's tasty. Yeah. Constellation. I love constellation.
It is beautiful. That is one of the best words in the English language.
Seems like a very poetic word.
It is so poetic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So that's the words for next week. And do we want to do definitions for the words?
Well, sure. I'll do a quick definition.
Yeah. What's a nightmare?
A nightmare is a scary dream. A constellation. This is actually from Latin.
Oh, okay.
Stella means, well, I think most of us know this, but it means star. And con means with or together. So together stars together. Constellation.
Excellent.
The things up in the sky that we look at. Correction. Well, that's the noun for whenever you fix something.
Like, obviously can't say the word correct when defining correction.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I went with fix.
Okay.
Yeah. Noun form, slip. Well, hey, this could mean to slip and slide, like on ice. It could also mean the silky undergarment, the slip. It could also mean to put something on, to slip something on, like slippers. It could also mean a piece of paper, a small piece of paper, a slip of paper.
That seems like one of those words that has a lot of definitions that you wouldn't necessarily think of just reading it.
Right.
Yeah, when you think slip, it's like, oh, slip and fall.
Right. But no, it means so many things.
Yeah.
And it also can mean a mistake.
Oh, like a slip up.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. Okay, and then we've got thirst. This is the phenomenon that you experience whenever you have not consumed enough liquid. Literally, of course, I think we all know that figuratively, it can mean other things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got some connotations.
Right. There's some connotations there.
Yeah. So those are our words for next week. So if you are listening to this podcast and you haven't submitted a story to You Write and you would like to, head on over to our subreddit, reddit.com/r/youwritepod, and submit your story under the episode. For this episode that you're listening to now, it will go under episode 3, where we will discuss those stories.
But if you're unable to submit a story this week, that's fine. You can help out by reading and commenting on other people's stories.
Yeah, and each time you post a story or a comment on someone else's submission, it increases your chances of having your story read on the podcast.
You can also reach us at youwritepod@gmail.com.
If you like our show, which, I think I like our show.
I love our show.
I like our show.
I think
I should
it's
probably
amazing.
do this. Head over to patreon.com/youwrite and consider maybe buying us a coffee or something.
Yeah.
I have high hopes for bonus content for us, but it's far too early to even be thinking about anything like that. So I basically just wanted to get it set up. If you're feeling generous and you feel like we've done you some good, then maybe head over to our Patreon.
Is Patreon anything like Patronus?
It's exactly the same.
Okay. What's your Patronus?
I want to say a stoat.
Oh, what's that? Is that like a
It's kind of like a ferret
I was
animal.
going to say, is that like the guy on Lion King the
I don't know why I said.
meerkat? No.
I don't know why I said stoat. No, it's not like a Timon.
Timon, that's it.
I'm gonna look up a stoat.
Okay.
Because I feel like they're so cute. Yeah, it's like a ferret.
Oh, that's your Patronus?
Yeah.
That's cute.
Because he's kind of skinny. It's curious.
Oh, wait.
but he's
So did you
also
take a Patronus test, or
He's
you
a little
just
dangerous.
bestow yourself?
Oh, you made me think of one on the spot, and I said stoat.
Okay, I
So-
love that. I took an actual official Patronus test,
Okay.
which actually divines your Patronus, like for real.
Oh, for real,
Yeah.
real.
And imagine my shock whenever I found that my Patronus is an Irish wolfhound.
You?
Me.
It's not any feline of any kind.
No, that's why it's weird.
Unacceptable.
I know.
Unacceptable.
But actually, I have a theory, which is that one's Patronus will be like the yin to your yang. So it'll be kind of like opposing characters.
So that means I'm probably a rabbit then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, if you were unable to donate, that's just fine. I get it. I wasn't, I haven't had money for a while now, but now I do.
Yes, you do.
So I get it. But you can help us by sharing the podcast with other writers and non-writers alike.
Also, be sure to leave us a rating and review in your podcatcher of choice. That really does help fledgling podcasts like ours to get off the ground. If somebody is looking for something like this show, if it has some good ratings and reviews, it is more likely to be recommended to other people who
That's
aren't
right.
already a part of this community. So
You're right. You're right. And you know what? Another motivation to do that is that we will be reading one review on each episode. So be creative.
yes,
Write something cool. This is also a chance to be creative with your writing.
and I think it's a good way to show people who may be interested in the podcast who are like, I don't know about this one. What do the reviews say? And they see all of these. I say all of these. They see posts that are
These millions.
really creative about
Yes.
rating. I thought that'd be fun, but
Mhm.
yeah, ratings and reviews really help us out. So
They do.
yeah,
Help.
and remember, join us next week on You Write.
A podcast where you write.
See y'all next week.
Bye.